Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So today I want to present a reaction to a video that I just saw, I'd say about 3 days ago. I had never heard of this young lady. I had never heard of her music, but as you know, anytime somebody speaks about something that I cover often on the blog or, on the YouTube channel, it's something that I want to talk about regardless of who the person is. I mean, it could be somebody who's unknown, somebody who's well known. If they fit into what I talk about on the channel, then that's something I want to talk about. So today's video is called "We Black Brazilians Were Taught Not to Love Each Other," says Bahian singer Maya. She had a lot to say in this. I haven't even watched the whole interview. I just watched the 3-minute clip that I saw on this podcast. And she touched on so much that I've talked about. I was like, yeah, I definitely have to cover this video. So before I get into it, definitely like this video and share this video. Subscribe to the channel. Click on the notification bell so you'll be updated, given an alert when I put up a new video. With that said, let's get into what this young lady had to say in this recent interview. So this is the singer named Maya. From what I understand, she's a singer who does a mix of a Brazilian rhythm called pagode with, what we know as trap music. But like I said, the video I'm doing today doesn't really, I'm going to get into what I've learned about her as an artist, but I want to talk about the 3-minute segment that she did on this podcast called Bahia Cast Cuts. Today's material is, as I said, from the YouTube channel called Bahia Cast Cuts. It's from the two newspapers, Correio 24 Horas and A Tarde. These are two newspapers known in Bahia. So, as I said, Maya touched on a lot in her interview, just a 3-minute segment. She talked about something that I've covered for probably 10 years or so, what's called the loneliness of the Black woman, or the solidaodamulhernegra. The idea that it's harder for Black Brazilian women to secure long-term relationships than women who are either racially indefinable or white or Asian of some other ethnic race or ethnicity. Then it also touches on this idea of palmitagem. Palmitagem, again, I've spoken on it many times. It's what people in Brazil, particularly the Black population, labels when they see Black people who seem to have a preference for having long-term relationships and constructing families and getting married with people who have white skin. She talked a little bit about the European standard of beauty that, it makes things difficult for Black Brazilians because Brazil, even though it has always claimed that there's no racism in the country, everybody in the country who's willing to, be honest about it, knows that people with a European look are more valued in Brazil than there's just no way around that. Whether we talk about the people represented in advertising, the people on modeling stages, the majority of people on television, the people in power, the rich people, the standard that everybody looks to is whiteness. Even down to the idea that Brazil promoted the idea of mixing so that within a century or a half or 2 centuries, the population would be completely white or something close to white. I talk about this very often, so it shouldn't be anything new to people who've watched more than a few videos here. The idea of embranquecimento, which means whitening, what I'm saying, the promotion of Black and brown people mixing with whiter people until 2, 3, 4 generations down the line, the family looks completely white. And then the idea of a more afrocentrado or Afrocentric love. It's only been in recent years, I want to say in the last 5 or 6 years, that Black Brazilians have been talking about Afrocentric love, the idea that Black men and Black women need to get together to face this we'll say this agenda to eliminate them through, racial mixing with lighter skinned partners. Okay. This came up a little bit in this video. And like I said, she packed a lot into what she said in 3 minutes. I mean, she talked almost everything she said is stuff that I've covered on this blog and on this YouTube channel. So with that said, I'm going to just overdub with what Maya had to say in this interview. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about her music.
No início, assim, quando eu era
At
mais
first, when I
nova,
was younger,
eu
I
não
didn't
entendia muito
understand it
bem,
very well.
né,
I was
escala
with
homens
Black men.
pretos.
I've always been
Eu
attracted
sempre fui
to Black
atraída por
men,
homens pretos, sabe.
But they never wanted to show up
Mas
with me
eles nunca
holding
queriam
hands.
aparecer comigo de
Then I
mão
started
dada.
to think it was strange, being young, never
Aí eu
having
comecei a
had
achar
a
que era
boyfriend,
estranho isso,
and him
fui
only
nova,
staying
nunca
to
ter
have
tido
sex,
namorado e só ficar só pra
Oh,
transar, sabe.
I don't want to get into anything
Ah, não
serious
quero
right now.
namorar
And
agora,
then after a
depois de
while,
ter
he's
tanta
dating
mulher
a
uma mulher
white
branca
woman
ou mais
or a
clara do
woman
que eu.
lighter than me.
Até hoje,
Even
recentemente
today,
eu passei por
recently,
isso,
I've been through
sabe.
this, I
Eu
have
tenho amigas
friends
também
who
que passam eu
also
estava
go through
conversando com uma
this.
amiga
I
ontem,
was talking to a
às vezes a
friend
gente acha que
yesterday.
solidão da mulher preta é
Sometimes
um
we think
assunto
that the
corriqueiro,
loneliness of
mas
black
tá
women
acontecendo a
is a
todo
trivial
momento.
matter,
Uma amiga
but it's
minha mandou pra
happening
mim
all the
ontem no
time.
no no
A
direct
friend of
uma
mine
foto
sent
de
me a direct
um
message
rapaz que
photo
ela gosta com
yesterday of
outra
a guy
mulher
she
branca.
likes
Ah,
with another
nem é
white woman.
bonita assim, ainda é branca, eu não
Oh,
consegui me
she's not
conformar
even
com
that
isso, mas existe
pretty,
uma coisa que mexe
nor is
tanto com
she
a autoestima
white.
da mulher
I can't come
preta,
to terms
ela
with
ser
that.
trocada por uma
There's
mulher
nothing that messes so
branca,
much with a
mas
black
não
woman's
por
self-esteem,
pela
her being
mulher,
dumped
mas
for a white
pela
woman.
questão que tem por trás
But not
disso,
because
né,
of the
pela
woman, but
problemática,
because
pelo
of the issue
racismo.
behind it, right?
Porque o homem preto
Because of the
também sofre,
problem,
velho.
the
A gente
racism.
não pode
Because
excluir
black
isso,
men
dizer
suffer
que ele
too,
tá sendo
dude.
racista,
We can't
porque a
exclude
gente
that,
foi
say that he's
nós
being
fomos
racist.
ensinados a não se amar.
Because we were
Eu
taught not
cresci
to
não me
love each other.
vendo, eu não
I grew
aparecia,
up not
sabe.
seeing any
Eu não tinha
references. I didn't
referências,
show up,
principalmente
I
nacionais,
had no
por isso que minhas
references,
referências são cantores
especially
americanos.
national ones,
Hoje a gente
which
tem
is
Isa,
why my
Ludmilla,
references are
Rebeca,
American
sabe.
singers.
Na minha época era
Today we have
Vanessa, mas
Isa,
eu era muito nova
Ludmilla,
pra
Rebecca,
eu me conectar com
Back
Sandra de
then it was
Sá
Sandra de Sá,
visualmente,
but I
sabe,
was too
como eu me
young to
conecto com as meninas
connect
de
with
hoje em
Sandra de
dia,
Sá
da música
visually,
pop.
How I connect with my
Mas
regions today in pop
eu não me
music.
achava bonita até pouco
But I
tempo.
didn't think I was
E isso
pretty until recently.
tudo,
And all this, it's a
É uma questão muito
complication
complexa,
issue,
né?
isn't
Tem
it?
vários lados.
é
There are
isso, e
many
os
sides
caras
to it.
também,
That's it.
eles
And the guys
tem a
too.
questão
They
do
have the question
status,
of
né,
status,
de se
right? Of
igualar ao
being
homem
equal to
branco,
the
né.
white man, right?
Muitas vezes
Is
isso é usado
often
como
used as
artifício
an
para
artifice
se
to
igualar
be
a um homem
equal
branco, por
to the
exemplo.
white
Isso,
man,
Dentro
for
da...
example.
e eles começam a
That's it.
interiorizar a questão da
And they
beleza, o
start
homem
to
é um homem muito
internalize the question
visual,
of beauty.
sabe. Então por ser visual,
Men are
ele
very
acha que
visual,
a
So
beleza é
because he's
ainda tem
visual, he
homens
thinks
pretos
that
que ainda
beauty,
seguem isso,
there are
o
still black men who
ficar com
still follow
mulheres
this.
que se
They get with
aproximam
women who are
do
close to
padrão
the
de
standard of beauty
beleza que
that is
tá
prevalent.
é
That's it.
isso. Então
So this
rola muito
happens a
isso. Tem
lot.
alguns caras que
There
têm
are some
consciência
guys who are
racial,
racially
né,
conscious,
que
right?
começam a enxergar a
Who
beleza de
start to
outras
see the
mulheres,
beauty
porque
in
a
other women
autoestima está
because
sendo
their
reconstruída
self-esteem
quando
is
você se
being
sente bem,
reconstructed.
bonito consigo
When you
mesmo,
feel good
você
and beautiful
consegue se
about
ver
yourself,
na outra
you can
pessoa,
see
consegue
yourself
achar outra
in
pessoa
someone
bonita
else.
também, sabe.
You can see the
Então
other
acho que é uma
person as
questão
beautiful too,
de
So I
é uma
think it's a
questão de saúde
question of,
pública também, porque
it's
mexe
a
com
public health issue
autoestima, é uma
too,
questão
because it affects
psicológica, façam
self-esteem.
terapia quem
It's a
puder. Não
psychological
é
issue.
acessível, não é
Go to
barato,
therapy, whoever
mas eu
can.
acho que isso ajuda muito, sabe, me
It's not
ajudou
accessible,
muito
it's not
a
cheap,
a me
but I think
situar,
it
porque
helps a
eu
lot,
sofria muito, gente,
It
até
helped
hoje eu
me
fico
a
assim,
lot to
mexe
situate
comigo
myself because
relacionamentos.
I used to
Hoje eu
suffer
não
a lot,
namoro,
people.
eu optei por
I
não
still
namorar
feel
por
that way
agora,
today. It
sabe.
messes with my relationships.
Mas,
I'm not
eu
dating
fico
today.
com
Você tá
muito medo de me
solteira?
relacionar,
I
sim.
chose
Fico
not
com
to
muito
date
medo
for
de me
now,
relacionar,
but I'm
tanto com
too
homens
scared
brancos
of getting
quanto
into
quanto tanto
relationships.
tanto
I'm
com
too
homens
scared to
brancos
get
quanto
into
com homens
relationships
negros, com homens
with both
brancos
white
mais
and
porque
black men.
eles são
With white
racistas,
men,
mas às
more
vezes não
because they're
percebem que são,
racist, but
sabe.
sometimes they don't realize that they are,
Eles não aceitam também
They
que
don't
são.
accept that they are either.
É muito
It's
complicado, é
very
difícil.
complicated. It's difficult. So you heard what Maya had to say in that interview, just a lot of stuff I have to get to. But as I said, I didn't know who Maya was. I just heard about her through this interview. This is Maya, the cantora y compositora, which means a singer-songwriter Maya. But I want to talk a little bit about her before I get into what she talked about. Bahian singer Maya mixes pagodão with trap music. Okay, so you know that Bahian means a person from the northeast state of Bahia, which is known to be like the Africans, the center of African culture in Brazil. Bahia is a place that everybody needs to go visit at least once in their lives, particularly if they're into the African diaspora. So Bahian singer-songwriter Maya, who is part of a new generation of Bahian musicians, is betting on pagotrap in her third single entitled Faca Amolada, which means sharpened knife. According to Maya, the initiative to bring pagotrap, again, pagoji trap music, into her music came about through her musical taste for hip hop and trap, as well as mixing it with the regional sound, which is Bahian pagoji, and loaded with influences from Black Brazilian music, such as, Underismo group, Atusha, Larissa Luz, and Baiana System. A few of those people, these groups I've talked about, particularly the Larissa Luz. You can find a number of articles on the blog about her. This is the official video for her song Faca Amolada. I learned about the real pagotrap and got involved in this musical chain. I immediately wanted to record and bring this mixture to my compositions. I think I've managed to make this combination of pagoji and trap evident in some singles while respecting the individuality of each rhythm. The sound of faca amolada is the result of a partnership between the singer, beatboxer Haydn, and Bahian singer-songwriter and musical producer Faustino Beats, responsible for the capture, mix, and master, who's been working in the scene since 2011. So this is a single of her release called Faca Amolada, which again means sharpened knife. The collaboration was made through a musical bridge between Bahia and Sao Paulo, showing the production to Diabel's Music, a music producer who has worked with well-known names such as Tassia Hayes, MC Sophia in, Defilides. According to Maya, Faca Amolada is a song made from the female perspective on how to conquer without expecting immediate conquers for those who identify with female power, audacity, and energy. She said that the track emerged from a rehearsal for the So Far Sounds project. Okay, so what I want to do right now is just go back into a few things that she talked about in her interview. She says, I had to cover this because so many women have talked about this and things that I've covered in past posts. They never want to show up with me holding hands. They only stick around to have sex. And it's always a situation where the guy says, I don't want to get serious right now. Then after, you see him dating a white woman or somebody close to white. Again, the loneliness of Black women, the Black Brazilian women has been something that people have talked about since at least 2012, 13, 14, somewhere in there. When you read what people post on Facebook, what they've posted on Instagram and Twitter, this has been a conversation for a long time. So I've never been a person who would dismiss this. How can we dismiss it when so many Black Brazilian women say this? Like, he doesn't want a relationship with me. You know, he wants to spend the night with me, do some things with me, but then he doesn't want to hold my hand in public, assume me as a girlfriend. He says he's not ready for a relationship, but then you see him in the street holding hands with a white girl. Talks about the self-esteem of a Black woman being injured after she's being constantly dumped for a white woman. This is a story that we hear again and again from Black Brazilian women. Again, because we are not taught to love each other. Black Brazilians have been manipulated and told, indoctrinated to believe you need to marry somebody white, produce lighter skinned kids. And more and more people are speaking out about this, which is another reason why I had to pick up on this interview. She said she didn't have any references. She didn't have a lot of Black women singers who she could look at and see, wow, if she can do that, I can do that. Women who look like her. So this is something that I've seen just in my involvement with Black Brazil. Black Brazilians have been so shut out of Brazil's media for so long that they turn to American productions that featured a lot of Black people. I've talked about in the past how Black Brazilians consume a lot of television and film that feature, American productions with majority Black cast. Everybody Hates Chris was a big show in Brazil. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was a big show in Brazil. All of the movies. So what she's saying here is something that I've said for a while. Black Brazilians have turned to American productions to see Black representation when Black Brazilians have been long frozen out of Brazil's media. It's, just totally Eurocentric. Things have changed for the positive, I would say, in the last 5 to 10 years, but they still don't have anywhere near the representation in Brazil's media. And they always point the finger. Brazilians always point the finger at how racist the United States is, but the type of representation in American media that Black Americans have just blows Black Brazilian representation in Brazil's media out the water. And even still, with Black Americans complaining about the lack of representation in American media, there's really no comparison. She speaks about how she didn't think she was pretty until recently. And I've talked about this. The actor Samuel G. Assis talked about the struggle he had to see himself as being attractive. He said he could only see himself as attractive after he had some therapy. And that's another thing. She talked about this. She says, if you can afford it, you need to go see you need to get some therapy. Nowadays, a lot of Black Brazilians are saying we need to see Afro-Brazilian therapists because the white Brazilians will always deny the fact of how the self-esteem of Black Brazilians has been so injured because of the Eurocentric standard in Brazil. Okay. Let me see. Black men have this question of status. Once they get to a certain tier of income, they have to have the trophy wife, which is usually the white woman. I talked about this recently in a video about this well-known 17-year-old soccer player named Endrique. And people were clowning him last week when he went public talking about, hey, I told my boys how I like my women. They got to be blonde with blue eyes. So the indoctrination process. So how often do these men actually just love these women because they love these women or because they're blonde with blue eyes? Is it the white woman that's pursuing the black man? This is something that I put out when I talked about the Indriki situation. You know, a lot of these women will see they're not necessarily attracted to black men, but they are attracted to the green that they can present. So you're saying, and then I like what she said at the end. She was like, let me see, or being equal to the white man. This is what a lot of black men feel. They feel that having sexual relations or just relationships with white women, some black men see this as a way of becoming equal with white men. With white men now, or with white men more because they're racist, but sometimes they don't realize they are. There's an article that, let me just get into the links that I want to connect to this article, because she talked about so many issues that I talk about on the blog. Like, so when she says that white men have this racist attitude, and I said this before, just because you're willing to lay and have intimate relationships with a person of a different race doesn't mean you're automatically less racist. This is an article from 2018. Coming to terms with female palmitaging, the preference for whiteness. Deeply hurt and exploited, I no longer want to be used as a sex hole for white boys. This is what one author talked about, with her coming to terms that, a lot of white men would just use them just for sexual purposes. Okay. Something that black women have to deal with, because they feel like they're being sexually exploited by not only white men, but black men as well. Palmitaging exists. I'm an example. This guy, black man, reflects on growing up in Rio and how the culture and racial hierarchy influences the adoration of white girls and women. In this article from 2016, this black Brazilian guy was acknowledging this. Like, yeah, we're taught, we grow up with this in our system that we have to get the white girl. If we get with a black girl, it's for a situationship, it's for a night, it's for what they call ficar. Ficar is just like, it's a casual relationship. This is the article I talked about. I put up a few days ago. I told my friends I like them blonde with blue eyes. 17-year-old soccer star Endriki gets roasted online for his dating preference. So that's something that I talked about a few days ago. I just discovered that this young lady is 21. So she's actually like 4 years older than him. So people are looking like somebody should have taught him. Somebody should have warned him, about what he's getting into, because this girl is 4 years older than him. She could be just looking at him in terms of dollar signs, and she might be chasing the bag. I don't know this girl. I don't know this woman, so I can't say. But people are just saying, like, somebody should have told Endriki, like, there's going to be a lot of girls, white and black. But since you prefer white girls, they know they can get with you. And nobody warned you, like, okay, what's the chance this girl is going to get pregnant with him? And then, a few years from now, she's out the door, taking maybe half of his cash. Who knows? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but we've seen it happen too many times. Then we have this idea, and I just spoke about this, eugenics in Brazil. We blacks are born and raised so that we don't want to marry each other. That's what a lot of people have said. A lot of people, Brazil has taught people for the longest, like, there's nothing wrong with interracial marriage. And I'm not saying it is, but when you are trained from the time you're little to prefer people who have white skin over people who look like you, that is an indoctrination process that we call palmitagem. Okay. This is something that guys, this particular Arthur Levi Kaki Ferreira talked about. We are born and raised so that we don't want to marry each other. All of these articles you can find over at the blackbraziltoday.com blog. There's a whole, theory behind this. Brazil has long wanted to erase its black population, but not with rifles or gun, or not with violence, even though that's true as well. But we'll say in the bedroom. What else do we have here? Let's see here. So loving a black man can hurt to get ahead in life. So this girl recollected, she remembered this black guy she was dating. And he said to her, look, to get ahead in life, a pessoa clara, a white person at my side. He needed a white girl at his side, not a black person like me. So he said that flat out. I mean, it's one thing when you have some people who we believe that men think this way. And generally, when black men are accused of being palmiteiros or black men preferring white women, they will deflect this accusation by saying, no, love has no color. But then you have people who will flat out say, no, my preference is a white woman. I'm already black. What I'm going to get with another black person with, what I'm going to get with another black person for. And Endriki said this flat out. My boys know the type that I'm into, blonde and blue eyes. So I'm saying, to me, this has been going on for a long time. It's to the point like, why don't you guys just stop denying it and just admit this is what you prefer? Okay. What else do we have here? Along the way, with all of this, with so many black men and black women seeming to have a preference for white people, people have suggested the idea of amor preto, black love, which is the cure for a generation of black Brazilians who are thirsty for integration with their enslavers. Remember, Brazil imported the most enslaved Africans in all of the Americas, and Brazil was the country that it abolished slavery at the last of the countries in the Americas to abolish slavery. Like, I think it was like 25 years after abolition in the United States. So people have been calling for, black love for a minute, you know? It is something that is new, and still people are not adhering to it. A lot of people are, but I still say in Brazil today, you still have many more people who say, look, love has no color. It kind of like masks the idea that they actually do have a preference for white skin. Numerous articles on this idea of loneliness of the black woman. Who loves black women? Loneliness and the breakdown of black women's self-esteem. A lot of stuff I have here. The actress Erika Januza talked about being passed over by black men, how difficult it is for her to get into relationships. Then I talked about this. Maya, the singer, talked about this. If you need therapy, maybe all of us need to get therapy. It's not cheap, but it can help. So a lot of black Brazilians are turning to Afro therapists, people of African descent who are, they're offering their therapy services because they get frustrated with white people just denying the importance of how people are perceived because of their race in Brazil. Brazil in many ways is still in a way that it denies this. They denies the psychological assault on the black psyche, right? This speaks to another thing that Maya talked about. This is an article for 2016, The Incredible Case of a Black Palmiteiro. He doesn't want a commitment, but radically changes his mind when a white woman enters his life. This is nearly verbatim. This is exactly what the singer Maya was talking about. Interracial love does exist, but some black people use white people as a social passport to feel more accepted, according to a social influencer. And this needs for recognition. I had another article that says the validation that black Brazilians usually want is white. That's what makes black relationships complex in Brazil, because either one or both partners, even though they're with a black partner, they have a secret desire that they actually want to just get with a white person, a white male or a white female. So, which tends to make black on black relationships a little problematic in Brazil because they are both indoctrinated with whiteness. In 2021, a well-known member, a well-known participant, what is his name? Can't remember his name now. Not even gonna think about it, but he was on Big Brother Brazil, I think like 3 or 4 seasons ago. And he was caught, on camera. He says, look, white girls never look at me. So there's this, he was talking about this need to be validated by white women. And we know that a lot of black women in Brazil feel the same way. Like, okay, I'm with this black person, but I prefer to get with a white person, somebody who has more social value. And if a person with social value has social value, that gives me value. It's unfortunate, but a lot of people think this way. So this is the reason why I wanted to talk about this particular interview today, because, Maya talked about in 3 minutes, she brought up so many things that I've talked about on this YouTube channel, as well as the blog. Definitely go over to blackbraziltoday.com and check out some of the articles that's over there. There's almost 4,000 articles. With that said, I'm going to end this video here. Request that you all come back. Check out the next video that I post, but don't forget, before you leave, please do like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell, and then I'm going to see you with the next video that I post.